Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're digging into a really fundamental shift in our economy. It's a tipping point that our source material calls the intelligence inversion. That exact moment when thinking work, cognitive labor, becomes cheaper to buy from an AI than from a person. So let's just start with a foundational question, one that really reframes everything. What if AI workers weren't just a novelty, but were actually cheaper and better than humans at most of the jobs we do in an office? And this isn't some far-off hypothetical. The analysis we're covering today says this is a reality that is coming at us fast. And yeah, that moment has a name. To be really clear, this is not science fiction. The economic analysis we're looking at predicts this massive shift isn't decades away. No, it's expected to start unfolding within the next 1,000 days. Okay, let's dive in. To really get our heads around the scale of this change, we've got to make sure we're all on the same page with the terms we're using. First up, cognitive labor. And we need to think way beyond just data entry here. This is the core of the modern office, right? It's the analysis, the strategy meetings, the coding, the emails. It really covers pretty much everything from purely digital tasks to the logistics that manage physical work. Next, AI agents. And this is so important. We have to move past thinking of AI as just a simple chatbot. Agents are complete systems. They can look at a goal, create a multi-step plan, use tools to get it done, and, this is the crucial part, they can actually check their own work. And they do all of this on their own, with very little human handholding. And all that brings us to the main event, the intelligence inversion itself. This is that economic tipping point. It's the structural break where for a whole bunch of tasks, an AI agent isn't just an alternative, it's flat out the better option. It's the moment when adding a human to the workflow doesn't just add cost, it actually reduces the system's overall performance. So what's pushing us toward this inversion so darn quickly? Well, it's not just one thing. It's actually the collision of four really powerful, accelerating forces all happening at once. First off, the reliability of these agents is just skyrocketing. And this isn't just about a model's raw IQ. It's about the whole software stack built around it. These systems can plan, they can use your company's tools, they can learn your internal lingo, and they can even verify their own work. The result? For any well-defined task, they're becoming way more consistent than a human team. Second, the cost. It is an absolute freefall. The raw compute cost for an AI agent to do what we'd consider a full day of thinking work is just plummeting. And according to the source, it's totally plausible for this cost to be well under $1 per day. Let that sink in. And wow, when you see it laid out like this, the visual gap is just staggering. That bar for a human worker, the $200 plus one, that doesn't even include all the overhead, benefits, office space, management, HR. The difference in cost isn't just an improvement, it's a completely different category of expense. Third is scalability. A human team grows through this slow, painful hiring process, right? One person at a time. An AI agent fleet, well, it scales with a software update. You could deploy 10,000 new workers in the same time it takes to deploy one. That can transform a company's capacity like overnight. And finally, there's persistence and what the source calls time arbitrage. Basically, agents don't get tired. They can work 24/7, run tons of scenarios at the same time, and use cheap, off-peak electricity to get ahead of schedule. This just rewires our expectations. Deadlines that used to be a week away can now be met later the same day. All right, so you take these four forces, you put them all together, and they create a pretty dramatic and, for a lot of us, deeply unsettling consequence. The economic value of just average human thinking work starts trending towards zero. So why does that happen? Well, think about it like an equation. The value a person adds is their output, minus all the costs they bring with them. So once an AI agent's output is just as good, all that's left on the human side of the equation are the costs. The time managers spend coaching, the rework from human error, the endless meetings just to stay coordinated, and of course, the simple delays of a 9-to-5 schedule. And this leads to an absolutely brutal conclusion. When those costs start to outweigh the little bit of extra output a person provides, their value to the company can actually become negative. And at that point, from a purely economic view, keeping them in the loop is just irrational. It slows things down and it adds risk. And this is a really crucial point. This shift is not going to be some gentle, gradual replacement. It's going to feel more like a phase transition. Like water hitting 0 degrees Celsius and suddenly snapping into ice. Right now, we're in this smart intern phase where AI helps us out. But once that full agent technology stack is complete, we're going to see a sudden jump to full autonomy in a whole lot of workflows. So this inversion, it doesn't just change a few jobs here and there. It completely reshapes the entire economic landscape. It creates a brand new form of capital, and yeah, it poses some profound challenges for the labor market as we've always known it. In this new economy, the engine that creates value, it shifts. It's no longer primarily about human brain power. It's about what the source calls compute capital, the hardware like GPUs, and the really sophisticated software that tells them what to do. This new form of capital is a direct substitute for cognitive labor. And unlike a human specialist, it can be retasked from processing insurance claims to designing marketing campaigns with just a simple software update.
So the source predicts this pretty clear three-phase sequence of disruption. It's going to start with the standardized stuff, right? Like claims processing. Then it'll move up the chain, shrinking middle management. And finally, even regulated professions will use agents for all the heavy lifting, with a human just providing the final sign-off. And notice that bit about the hiring pause? As new roles get filled by AI, it's going to be the folks just starting their careers who get hit the hardest.
Naturally, this whole conversation leads to talk about solutions like universal basic income, but the source points out a pretty massive hurdle. Just do the math. A UBI of just $20,000 per person in the US would cost $6.6 trillion a year. That's more than the entire annual federal tax revenue collected today. So the key takeaway here for any leader is crystal clear. You cannot assume the government is going to solve this in time. The technological shock is almost certainly going to outpace the political system. That means businesses have to plan for these shifts themselves, both for their own workforce and for their customers' financial stability. Okay, I know this all sounds pretty daunting, but the analysis isn't just a warning, it's also a guide. Given this new reality, how can organizations, and really all of us as individuals, how can we respond strategically? Here is a super practical test you can apply to pretty much any workflow. Can it be clearly specified? Is there enough volume to make automation worthwhile? Does speed matter? Do you have data to learn from? Is it already based in software? If you answer yes to 4 or more of those, that workflow is past the inversion point. It is time to start designing an agent-first process, like right now. But listen, this isn't about eliminating humans. It's about repositioning us. The future of our work lies in these zones where we provide unique, lasting value. We're talking about roles built on deep trust and accountability, work that requires a physical presence, jobs that demand legal responsibility, and the people who build communities and create meaning. These are the areas where our value stays positive and absolutely essential. Ultimately, this whole intelligence inversion leads us to one final, critical question. When cognitive labor shifts from human brains to silicon chips, the main form of capital becomes compute. And every single unit of compute is, at the end of the day, a unit of energy and physical infrastructure. This means the new strategic bottleneck isn't talent, it's energy. So as we head into this new reality, we have to ask ourselves, if intelligence is the new power, who controls the grid?